For more than 4 decades, the Indiana Black Expo has been celebrating the accomplishments and achievements of African Americans in the Hoosier State. It's back again at the Indiana Convention Center, and we're talking about all it has to offer. Then we're focusing on education in Indiana, talking with the candidate trying to take down Superintendent Tony Bennett. Plus, our political panel joins us for this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Todd Connor. Since 1970, Indianapolis has hosted the Indiana Black Expo, which just kicked off its 42nd year. Festivities kicked off Thursday night, as a matter of fact, with a special concert from the Light of the World Christian Church. The Black Expo Summer Celebration is the largest cultural event of its kind in the country, featuring job and health fairs, concerts, and celebrity appearances as well. Joining me now are the president, Tanya Bell, president of Indiana Black Expo, and Vernon Williams, Vice President of Communications. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Tanya, let's start with you. Remind everyone, our viewers out there, how the Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration started.
Well, we started about 42 years ago at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and really at that time the vision was one of supplier diversity, to where it was focused on business and really connecting small minority businesses with major businesses from an economic development standpoint.
And how has it grown over the years?
Wow, we grew out of the State Fairgrounds the first year. That first year we had about 50,000 people. And we grew out of that space in 1 year, and we ended up at the Indiana Convention Center. And so what started out from a supplier diversity standpoint has grown into educational workshops, business conferences, employment opportunity fairs, youth events, and a lot of different things for the community.
Vernon, it's 11 days long right now. It's been that way for some time. Is there any thought down the road to expanding it or maybe tightening up the schedule?
Well, with 65 events in 11 days, I don't know if we're going to expand anytime soon, but we actually did add a day this year because we had a sponsor appreciation reception at the newly renovated offices of Indiana Black Expo. So this year, in actuality, it's going to be 12 days.
So it's expanding a little bit then, huh?
But it did this year, yes.
Yeah. You do have a lot going on. As you mentioned, Tanya, you have the entertainment and some of the music. Who should we look for as far as some of the stars and some of the big acts that everybody's looking forward to seeing?
From an entertainment standpoint, we're very excited because we will have Gladys Knight here on that Friday, July 20th, who will be headlining our outdoor concert at the American Legion Mall, as well as with Confunction and Zap. But we're also excited with respect to our lineup at our corporate luncheon on that same day, earlier that day, where we will have Harry Belafonte, Pam Grier, Reggie Wayne, our very own, and some other folks here that we will be able to honor that day.
So some big names. And then the exhibition hall, I guess, opens up, and you have a lot of workshops, Vernon. When can people start heading into the convention center and start, you know, checking things out there?
Starting Monday with the Black Business Conference, and it's going to be very different this year because we're going to bring in global business prospects. Representatives of 8 nations will be there. And we're also going to teach social media skills to, you know, some of the baby boomers who may be very successful in business but not as comfortable as they want to be with the social media. We're going to have a workshop for those individuals. Then we move into the education conference. Those two things kind of kick off the week.
The blueprint for social media success. Tanya, you think that's an important thing to add this year? It's the first ever.
Oh, definitely. I think that from a marketing standpoint, we're entering a new era, and it's an opportunity for these businesses who have not used social media to implement a social media program within their business.
You mentioned the Black Business Conference kicks off on Monday. We have the Mayor's Breakfast kicking off on Monday as well. Something that, is that open still if you want to attend that?
It's actually full to capacity. We're glad to report that.
That's good news then.
But people can still come to the workshops, so they can register online for the workshops, but the breakfast is full.
Now the workshops, are they mostly geared toward adults and business folks out there? Is that who's going to be attending most of these workshops?
Well, they are, but separately, we have a youth entrepreneur workshop. So young people who want to go into business get an opportunity not only to get the expertise from professionals, but they actually get a chance to develop a business plan right there on the spot. And there's a prize for the best one.
Oh, wow. And we're talking teenagers here? We're talking upper
Exactly,
teens?
teenagers.
All right. So a lot for kids to do at the summer celebration as well. What else do we have for, say, teens and even younger kids to do?
Well, we really right now encourage all families to come out and partake in our exhibition hall on that weekend. We're very excited. We will have the Dr. King Center Imaging Project, which is, you know, we're telling people right now you don't have to go all the way to D.C. or to Atlanta to see a memorial of Dr. King. We'll have it right here, a very interactive exhibit that we're excited about. And so we're really encouraging people to come and partake in the exhibition hall. Of course, you know, we have the largest health fair in the country that's right there in the hall, as well as a variety of other attractions.
And the weather's a little bit cooler than it has been, so that's going to be a nice thing.
It's going to be gorgeous.
Parents are concerned all the time about drop-off locations for some of their teens and their children. Same as always if they've done it in previous years?
Same as always, and we're going to publicize it on a daily basis. People can come to the website. We have a new app for the first time.
Congratulations.
App. So, well, thank you. So we'll be able to inform people through the app. And if people just call the office, we'll be glad to help them. We want everyone to know all of the information that'll help them navigate through downtown.
Now, so many people attend summer celebration, and so with all those people, you have to make sure safety is at the top of your mind. I would guess you have plenty of security. What will people see when they come to visit? Will they see, you know, plenty of people walking around taking care of things?
Yes, we've had a great sense of cooperation from the community, from the faith-based coalition, from local law enforcement. Everyone is joining in. A task force implementation that started last year that resulted in pretty much a trouble-free summer celebration is going to be returned this year. So we're expecting people to just come down with their families, with their children of all ages, and be able to just have a good time and worry about nothing but trying to get around to everything and not overeat, because we're going to have great dinner.
Yeah, don't forget the food, right? In the 30 seconds we have left, Tanya, anything you'd like to add about what people can expect, or you know what the must-see is? Yeah,
the must-see is really the exhibition hall on that weekend. We really stress for them to come in and see all of the different exhibits that we have. I just talked about the Dr. King exhibit. We have fashion shows, hair shows, as well as a lot of youth events going on inside the exhibition hall.
Something for everyone.
Something for everyone, definitely.
All right, Tanya Bell, Vernon Williams, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the Indiana Black Expo runs from now through next Sunday, July 22nd. Most of the events are taking place in the convention center during exhibition hours. And coming up after the break, I-STEP scores have never been higher for Hoosier students, but one person is running on a campaign that says we can do better. We're talking with Democratic candidate for State Superintendent Glenda Ritz about the changes she thinks we need in our state's education. Democratic candidate for Governor John Gregg has the person he wants to lead Indiana schools for the next 4 years. Gregg has endorsed Glenda Ritz for State Superintendent of Public Schools. Ritz says Republican incumbent Tony Bennett spends too much time on standardized testing, which doesn't help students learn to think. And she said it's time for state government and educators to work together.
In spite of spending over half of our tax dollars on education, we trail 26 states in preparing our students for the global economy. It is time for a change.
And joining us now on Indianapolis This Week is the Democratic candidate for Superintendent for Public Instruction, Glenda Ritz. Ritz is a two-time Teacher of the Year award winner at 2 different schools and has served as the president of Washington Township Education Association for 15 years. Glenda Ritz, thank you very much for being here.
And thank you for inviting me, Todd. Thanks.
Pleasure to have you. Superintendent Bennett, you're critical of him for several reasons, but one is he spends too much time testing, not enough time allowing teachers to teach.
Correct. At the end of every spring, we take the I-STEP test, but prior to that test, because of the high stakes of the testing, districts in all over the state are having testing periodically throughout the entire school year. So we're actually testing students, you know, on a very, very regular basis. And because of that, there's less time for instruction.
Well, how are you to measure then what they accomplish, or maybe in some cases what they don't accomplish if you don't do the testing?
Well, we don't need to do the testing as much as we're doing it now. There are better ways to do the assessment pieces. Right now, the I-STEP test is what you call an achievement test. It's a pass or fail. Educators would prefer a test testing system similar to like a real growth model, where you really know where students are on a continuum. For example, reading. In reading, you would like to know in a 4th grade classroom that you have 6th grade readers, 7th grade readers, 2nd grade readers, so you could provide the proper resources and materials and have a lot of time for instruction to be able to improve those levels or have the students extend on their own levels. Right now, it's a pass-fail approach.
Is a lot of this teachers saying that these tests are too critical then of them if the students don't do well and they feel there's too much pressure on them?
Well, I think there's too much pressure on the whole system. Everything's tied together now. The high stakes of the I-STEP is tied to several pieces, as you just pointed out. It's tied to school accountability, it's tied to teacher evaluation, it's tied to students' graduation, and the stakes are so high that now everybody feels they have to do even more testing throughout the school year, which takes time away from instruction.
Speaking of I-STEP, the test results were released recently. Superintendent Bennett came out with those. They went up 1% over last year, an improvement that he says we should all be very happy about. You don't see it quite that way.
No, I don't. Actually, that's a very minimal improvement statewide, and the reason that I feel that that's indicative of what's happening is because we do have less time on instruction. We are spending so much time doing assessments that there's not enough, we've taken away days and days and days of time for instruction, and it doesn't surprise me that there was just a little bit of growth.
But these are all-time highs in math and reading, and it's an 8% improvement over 3 years ago. So it would seem we are heading in the right direction and that things are getting better. You just don't think it's fast enough.
Well, teachers are doing their jobs, certainly. They continue to do their jobs all the time despite the cuts that have happened and the reduction of teachers being hired in the schools. But as a result, we could have been doing much better if everything had been in place and proper instructional time and support for the individual school systems for what we needed to do. Right now we are literally teaching to the test at the absence of some good curriculum and vocational training for happening in the high schools. We are not preparing students to leave high school to be in the workplace because of the high stakes testing.
There's some schools doing really well, some school districts not doing so well. IPS, one of those. In fact, less than half of the students passed math and reading this time around. What would you plan to do if you get this office for school districts like that?
Just had a conversation about that, actually, and many of our young children that we get into school in 1st grade, many of them do not come with kindergarten and they do not come with any preschool experience, and so when they enter 1st grade they really are a year or two behind when it comes to literacy instruction, and so we have to spend our time trying to catch those students up, so to speak. The state of Indiana is one of a handful of states in the United States that does not mandate kindergarten, nor do we have any preschool education component that goes with that.
It takes a lot of money.
It does take some money, but I think it's a priority that we need to be addressing. And also we need some really strong reading components to go with that at every grade level. Reading seems to be an emphasis just to teach students to read, but reading happens all the way through schooling. Reading and the level of your reading, you know, helps you to be productive in the workforce later on.
Any other shortcomings with education here in the state that you would like to make a priority if you take office in January?
I'd like to see a lot more local control with school districts on how they want to address the challenges in their schools. I think the Department of Education should be supporting the local schools and communities in how they want to improve their schools. They should have a lot more say. We should be working with businesses to get the courses in place for what we need for vocational training. We need to be sure we have safe and students are safe and respected at school. We need to have training programs for educators and students regarding the bullying. And then, you know, going back to the testing piece just a little bit, the barrier for many students graduating is Algebra 1. It's a high-stakes test. We didn't used to have a gateway to getting a diploma. Algebra 1 is needed for college, but it is not needed as a course for going into other vocational pieces. We need to be offering math courses that are designed to help students go into other vocational areas, and so they can proudly graduate from high school to go into career and tech ed or to to go into other vocational areas.
You'll make some students very happy if you want to get rid of that Algebra 1, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I would.
All right, Glenda Ritz, Democratic candidate for State School Superintendent, thank you very much for coming in today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. After the break, we'll be sitting down with our political insiders talking about education and the race for Indiana's Senate seat. Find out just how much the Murdoch-Donnelly campaigns have raised in cash so far. All right, joining us now are political insiders. Laura Beck, a Democrat who served as a deputy communications director in the Bart Peterson administration, and Republican Robert Vane, a Republican who served as communications director and deputy chief of staff for Mayor Greg Ballard. Thank you two for joining us.
We're so happy to be here.
You don't seem like it. Are you sure?
Are.
You'd rather be here than out enjoying your weekends?
She'd be happy if she worked for the Pence campaign.
You know, we're just not going there. I'm ignoring you today.
Let's go.
Starting off
start with fundraising in the Senate race. How's that? We have Mr. Murdoch, Richard Murdoch, this last quarter raising $1.7 million. And you have Joe Donnelly raising $900,000. Quite a bit of a difference, but unexpected, expected?
Well, for Richard Murdoch, this is a huge, huge number. A lot of folks said after the bruising primary, it'd be tough for him to raise money, it'd be tough for him to unite Republicans. These extremely robust fundraising numbers belie that entire notion. Richard Murdoch's got the support of Republicans in Indiana, and he's going to win, and these numbers reflect that support.
Do you have the full support of them?
Has the full support of folks, a lot of folks like me. I supported Senator Lugar enthusiastically on the show and on other platforms, but we need a Republican Senate. Richard Murdoch would be an excellent senator, and the fact that his fundraising numbers have exploded like this is a testament to the fact that Hoosiers want Republicans to control the Senate.
I think it's no surprise that Joe Donnelly may be playing catch-up in fundraising throughout much of this race. But $900,000, I mean, that's a pretty good number.
Yeah. It is, and it is a pretty good number. And I'm just surprised that Richard Murdoch didn't have 3 campaign finance reports prepared, you know, like his response.
Well, when you got that...
Can I beat that dead horse just a little bit longer?
When you have that much money, maybe you
can. I beat that dead horse a little longer?
No other politician prepares their answers on...
That's right, exactly. No, I think when you look at the numbers, though, for this, what is a really telling number, though, is the cash-on-hand number. And Murdoch is refusing to release his cash on hand.
And why do you think that is?
Well,
a reason?
Well, I mean, it's typically something that elected officials do to be transparent in terms of their cash on hand. But I would suspect that maybe it's not where he wants it to be. I think Congressman Donnelly has 1.3 million cash on hand, which is a pretty good number. He saw a significant uptick in his donations online. I think it was a 600% increase of online donations, and a very significant amount were $250 or less. So that shows that it's very grassroots when you're getting that kind of support. But going back to the cash on hand number, Richard Murdoch had a pretty significant debt going into the pre-primary report. I think it was something like $300,000. Maybe Robert can confirm that. But if he's got that, he may not want that out there if he still is carrying debts for his campaign.
Is that true? Is there a reason? Is he hiding something?
Yeah.
Robert?
Of course not. Here's the deal. Democrats cannot win this Senate seat unless Republicans are splintered. That's how Evan Bayh won it the 2 times that he won it. These numbers show that the Republicans are not splintered. They're behind Joe Donnelly, just like the numbers that are going to be released are behind, by Richard Murdoch. Just like the numbers coming out on Monday, I believe, in the gubernatorial race, and Mike Pence, I'm pretty sure, is going to have some significantly robust financial numbers to report on Monday, are showing that Republicans and Hoosiers are firmly behind Mike Pence. In a race that can be tight, like this one was, I think the poll showed, what, both at 44, it was very close. Money can make a huge, huge difference, and Richard Murdoch should be very heartened by these numbers.
I think what'll be interesting as well, though, too, is to see where the money is coming from for Richard Murdoch. I mean, he had a tremendous infusion of cash from outside Tea Party organizations. Are those same Tea Party organizations who he has been disavowing along the campaign, are they still supporting him?
But in the end, the money's all green, right? I mean, as long as you have the money,
it's all green,
you can run
but
your
it is
campaign.
sometimes interesting where it comes from.
So Congressman Donnelly, who's from Washington, works in Washington, isn't going to take Washington money? Is that what you're saying?
So Mike Pence, Congressman Pence, who's from Washington, has been living in Washington up to this point in time when he decided to rent a home.
I'm not
is not going to take that as well.
I'm not criticizing where the money's coming from. The most important fundraising numbers, really, in a way, is going to be John Gregg's. So far, John Gregg's fundraising numbers are so ugly, they should be out the airport sniffing luggage. he better raise some significant money or this race is over.
I would say this about John Gregg. There is one of Robert's beloved candidates. In 2007, there was an incumbent who was very well funded, and there was an opponent who was not. And the opponent who was not was Mayor Greg Ballard. And so just because you have the most amount of money at the end of the day, it does not mean you're going to win.
You
so
brought up the mayor. Can we get onto that issue real
Sure.
quick?
Just very quickly, Hoosiers believe the state's headed in the right direction now. Remember, people in Indianapolis believe the city was heading in the wrong direction in 07.
I don't know about that. I think it was but there was a Tea Party revolution there too.
We have less than a minute to get to how well the mayor and the city county council are working together. Of course, the Democrat majority in the council and the mayor. Are they really working that well together? We got the smoking passed.
I think so. From being in the mayor's office under Mayor Ballard, Laura worked for Mayor Peterson. There are certain folks you especially look to from each side of the aisle who can do really good work. Mary Moriarty Adams is a wonderful city county councilor, great East Sider, has been there for a long time. The mayor and she have a great relationship. The Mayor Ballard cares less about the political calculation than any elected official in Indianapolis history. He is an easy partner for the Democrats to work with on a host of issues.
I think it speaks a lot to Maggie Lewis's leadership of the council. I think she's doing a terrific job. I also think, though, it speaks a lot to the fact that folks are working together. And again, we talk about counselors who are partnering together. You've got folks like Ben Hunter, who's working with the Democrats on things on Bob Lutz. You've got a lot of people who are really coming together, and I think it speaks a lot to just a new tone of government. I think it's very positive.
One big happy family, no problems down the road?
Oh, well. Abdul's not here. Abdul's not here. He usually likes to forecast doom and gloom.
Steve Talley, too. He's an excellent, along with Ben Hunter and a lot of others.
There's just a lot of really solid folks on that council, and I think that John Barth, Angela Mansfield, Zach Adamson, they're doing great work, and I think that it really says a lot about their commitment to bipartisan governments and moving the city forward.
Laura Beck, Robert Vane, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Take care.
And stay up to date on political news and analysis anytime by following our insiders, Laura and Robert, plus Kip 2 and Abdul Hakim Shabazz on our Capitol Watch blog. You can find the link on our webpage, theindychannel.com. Indianapolis This Week continues right after this. And that's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Todd Connor. Have a great day.